Good evening. Welcome aboard. Aye. Go away for a week. Trade like shit. Market turns bad today. Damn. And then Runner goes and curses us anyway by uttering the famous words that BTC is holding up well compared to TradFi today. So that's who you DM for refunds. Bottoms in. I would like it, man. I know about it, but I like it. Yeah, until tomorrow. Yeah. All right, let's get into some charts and discuss where we are. And I think really the the conversation and the discussion really has to kind of, I don't know, not necessarily like revolve around caution. I think it still just has to revolve around the fact that the market conditions are still pretty aggressive in terms of the back and forth price action that we've seen. Right? So like that's the important thing, because one of the things that I've been caught out on in my kind of poor performance over the last week is I've been anticipating the larger downside move, and we'll talk about SPX as well in a second. I've been anticipating the larger downside move, and where I've been caught out is the fact that the market is still volatile enough to push too far on the reversal side to maintain the same position. Right? So like that's basically the problem that I've had personally with trying to capture some of the larger moves in the market. And so after the weeks that we've seen of this price action being a little bit more aggressive in terms of strong sell-off, strong recovery, strong sell-off, and very much that back and forth price action, I just want to make sure that there is like an element of kind of caution in what I say here. I think all of us are like, well, I say all of us, maybe not. A lot of us are looking for stronger downside moves. My bias throughout this entire region on BTC or kind of where we are right now time-wise is that everything does trade lower. So I think that everything does trade lower from here. I think probably significantly lower from here. My basis for that is the indexes. So I've kind of been of the belief for a while that SPX is probably nearly topping out here. Today's price action may be more of a confirmation of that. And then it's really kind of the shorter time frame that everybody is kind of getting caught up on or caught out by. And as I said, putting my hands in the air, me last week, without a doubt, getting caught up in the lower time frame stuff, even though my higher time frame expectations are that everything trades lower, just being a little bit too aggressive. So we can see here that, you know, basically it was the US Open again today that kind of caused all of the problems for BTC. So making the move down here as soon as the US came online. Obviously holidays there yesterday, Labor Day, and market moving strongly to the downside when they came online. Relatively decent bounce, but again, nothing really to kind of, you know, get too excited about down here. For me, no real signs of this being a bottom region. Lower time frame again, potentially a higher low through here if you want to try and save something from a market structure perspective. And then you've got SPX here over on the right hand side, and you can see again the aggressions, you know, shown on the downside here from this morning, pretty much all the way through London, all the way through the day, and then ramping up the aggression again on the US Open. So this is a concern. this area here, this market here is a concern, and this area in this market for me is a concern because of this picture here and the diverging nature of the highs that we're starting to see up here, and it's even worse from an awesome oscillator perspective as well. I kind of memed the 2007 market rate cut crash this week, and kind of put that out there. I did not check a single comment because I just knew I knew basically I was like pulling the pin out of the grenade and then throwing it in, and then just letting everybody fight it out in the comments. And the comparison areas are, let's see if we've still got some semblance of it here on a single chart here, just so we can kind of run through the similarities in the price action here. And then maybe we can add awesome back in, actually. Just kind of show this. So you can see through here, basically what we're getting is we're getting this divergence structure here. Right, so we're just kind of like matching in terms of the divergences through this region. The weekly is also diverging the highs through here as well. And the thought was maybe we get a clearer high than this one being put in. This is still a higher high here on the weekly, but still diverging in terms of RSI and awesome oscillator through here. So, even these highs here are diverging highs across this area of price action. Now, the area of comparison was the one back in 2007. Now, the reason that this area is so interesting and the reason that I tweeted about it is because structurally very similar in terms of the way this played out. It came up here, it ended up taking these highs in this little bit, and this was the last high here in terms of the divergence. We got this huge divergence across the highs. It's very similar to the way that BTC topped as well. And you can see the same on the awesome oscillator through here. The interesting part about this is really the background into kind of what happened during this period of time, and that is that rates were cut here. Rates were cut on the 18th of September 2007, and this was the reaction initially, and then it marked the top, and then obviously the aftermath of what happened 2008, etc. We all know what happened there. Now, this area of price action, we are basically completing the same sort of structure through here. Like I said, we have actually taken this high, but we haven't taken the highs of the wick. And we have FOMC on the 18th of September. And we know what the expectation of the market is come the 18th of September through here as well. So it's a relatively interesting kind of like correlation piece in terms of the price action and what happened kind of in the underlying side of things. All the overarching things, depending on which way you're going to look at the rates. 2007 rate cuts were for a completely different reason. Yeah, and again, it's just an interesting correlation point in terms of the structure of the price action and the event that happened. And also the date itself, right? That's the only interesting part of it. Right? I don't really give a shit why rates were cut. I don't really give a shit about this time around. It's the technicals are here. I don't really need to know about the rates particularly. It's just a nice piece. Yeah, and obviously if this market here tops out, then I would suspect that crypto is also in the process of continuing its selling off. We're not going to say topping out because we probably think that situation is already complete based on the way that current price is trading. So since I've been away, we had the horror weekly, which just undid all of the positive work that we'd seen on BTC from this candle here and pushing us into that situation where we were getting that nice higher low formation. We were looking at a potential challenge back to the 70k area. And then this horror weekly came along and kind of like shattered everything. And now we're in the position where, once again, momentum looks as though it's turned around. We had a squeeze yesterday. And it looks as though we've just resumed the natural order of market structure here. So what we're actually seeing is decent sweep through here in terms of this. very strong reaction back in line with the trend, right? Back in the nature of this. And this now being the lower time frame bounce to kind of take the edge off. Now, kind of, the caution side of this, and the way that I phrased this at the start of the stream, is that this price action has still been very back and forth through this region. Okay, so this price action here, it looks like death, and then all of a sudden we're back up in 2 days later, and we're everybody's confident and positive again. This price action is really doing a number on people from an emotions perspective and from a psychology perspective. It truly is the, it's so over meme, like, taking place time and time again. It really feels as though that's what's going on. The monthly close also wasn't great. Not the worst, but not fantastic. Higher time frames look as though they want to resolve to the downside. Daily being here underneath the 50, it's had its bounce through here. Weak crossover in terms of the AO. Potential now to move down on the daily. 3-day, very similar position. 4 hour, we know what's happening on the lower time frames today. Now the thing is like, where does it stop? Where does this move to, and what are our thoughts in kind of simplifying this market and where this is right now? Well, we know that number one, that this area here down at this low at 48,000 would probably get quite aggressive if we were to start trading down here. 44,000 has always been an area of interest for the market because of this little patch that we've got here on the weekly. This little area of demand and consolidation that we did for a number of weeks at the end of 23, start 24. And this would make the area that we would kind of, gravitate towards thinking about from a higher time frame perspective on where we might kind of see the next significant bounce / bottom. What do we do for an area like this, though? Because if we're looking at something like we've got right now, and we're of the belief that we're going to trade to that area, then basically that space, that's what we're looking at here, right? It's like this position here. How do we think about the long side here as well? What does the long side look like? And realistically, for right now, first thing we're going to need to see is that change in structure. So we're actually going to need to see this break, because even through this region here, we're, even if we take this, we've got our low here. So even kind of market structure wise, we tapped up into this, made the lower high, and now we would suspect that we would trade into the lower low. If we trade into the lower low and we start getting close to this area, do we just continue that anyway? And this becomes the more aggressive move down that I keep on saying that we're waiting for. I know everybody doesn't share the same bias and outlook. And is this the move that kind of would be the killer one? So the upside, we need to see that higher low form, and then we need to see the high getting taken. If it wants to start doing it in this area here, then fine. Somewhere around here, maybe relatively decent touch points, 56, 54, that sort of zone. We need to see this high here go at 64, 64 and a half. Needs to get broken. If we do that, then we'll head towards the 70k challenge. If we push past the 70ks, then it's 100k plus. The upside trade feels a lot easier because the kind of the simple nature of that trade is just the 70k breakout and then getting long on it. And that being the most kind of simple, significant trade signal that you could take would just be moving into that position. Everything else here, still strong downtrending environment, still maintaining market structure, would still expect to trade into lows. If we stick a higher low, Really good start. Need to make a higher high. And then we've got to talk about ETH as well. Oh, shit. The daily doesn't look too bad for all the kind of, you know, the doom on the timeline today. And I know it's been a red day largely across the board. Daily's not too bad as it stands. Although this is probably one of those days where Asia just slaughters. 220 viewers is reflective of something. Yeah, it's on Twitch, but we because we stream across Twitter and Twitch now, the viewing figures on Twitch are a little bit off. So like we've had over 4,000 viewers so far. Yeah, so it tends to be on Twitter that the majority of people are watching now. All right, yeah, let's do POPCAT, Barrett, because I think that's a nice one to look at. You say, do you like the 6.5 area? Yeah, but again, do I think that it has enough to get up there from where we are currently? Maybe. The daily doesn't look good for it here. And the 4 hour was actually a pretty decent move in terms of the squeeze that we had here. So again, counter trend move off the lows into here, 21%. That's a really good kind of counter trend play. Difficulty you've got with shorting through this region is you could be like short here and you could say, well, the daily looks poor. There's a ton of room on the 4 hour to expand to the downside. The difficulty is like you can't have your stop here because this area just above you should be resistance as well. So if you're going to play this, you have to be a lot tighter in terms of your stop to get you out. And then you'd be looking at essentially taking another attempt if we were to get up here. And then that one would be the one that you'd be taking down to whatever low you'd want to aim for. Right, so I think that's the way to go. Or you size this one differently in order to support that move. But even then, this situation feels as though you could probably take one attempt here and try and find something that was a little bit more aggressive in terms of a downside play. You know, look, I mean, even the 15-minute RSI rotation here back up to the 50. The hourly is still in a position where it can easily support the downside. What if the daily closes green? Never say never. Never say never. But again, this is to me, this all just feels at the moment a bit like chop post significant sell. You know, these areas of price action always feel as though, from my perspective, kind of the RSI resetting moves. And because of the current trend through here, and you know, any move to the upside is just getting absolutely slapped. Even if we just take this area of price action, every upside move, this squeeze, slap back down. This squeeze, slap back down, immediately squeezed again, and then just chops until it trades lower again. Attempts to bounce, slap back down. This one here is the most significant one, which is why it feels gross that we've now done that move. Because this is the kind of the most significant bounce that we've had that's been a little bit longer in length. But even if you see what it's achieved in terms of the areas that it's taken out here, you know, even going from like all the way here, it's a relatively decent kind of, you know, 5 days of PA that it's taken out. Yeah, AAVE and HNT, the only two coins on my entire watch list that are technically trending higher, decent structures. Yeah, they are. They are. AAVE is a really interesting market at the moment. Yes, we've had a lot of aggression in terms of the move lower from today, but you're absolutely right in terms of this market on a higher time frame perspective. Really decent spot. You know, fresh high on the weekly, break out of the resistance down here at the 110s. It's an interesting market. Can it survive if BTC starts selling off aggressively? No, it's not going to survive in that situation. Might it be one of the strongest bouncers? Probably. Just because of the way that the structure is set up here. So AAVE is one that is on the watch list, especially for a bounce perspective, that if we believe the market to be bottoming out, then I think AAVE is a very, very good trade because I think it captures greater upside. Yeah, Nvidia got absolutely slapped today. I think it's the biggest single day loss for Nvidia in terms of cap. So AAVE's in an interesting spot. Nice. Do you know I watched like a video the other day. It just happened to pop up about like the conspiracy side of Nvidia, and essentially just like what a fraud Ponzi company Nvidia is. Yeah, I've just seen it. Just taking a look at it here. Well. 270 billion today, the largest one-day market cap fall. Nvidia's a Ponzi. Should we buy more? Yeah, exactly. It makes it more attractive all of a sudden, right? Spending too much time on TikTok? Yeah, I know, man. That's the problem. Do you see the crash happening after rate cuts begin, as they have done in the past few cycles? I don't know, man. Like, from my perspective, I don't really like trying to time things from like that perspective. You know, a major event being a significant marker for me to determine whether or not we're going to sell off. I think that's kind of a lot more challenging to do. I think the technicals are still the thing that I utilize more than anything else. The cross comparison I did was, kind of a nice engagement tactic on Twitter, but if it ends up producing the more aggressive selling, then sure, like it will lend itself to it. But I don't know if I could simply state in kind of that fact that yes or no, I believe that's going to happen. Now, like I said before in response to one of the other comments, I don't actually need to know about anything to do with rates. I don't need to know when FOMC is, because the chart should give me all of the information that I'm looking for in order to place the trade, outside of all of the information. Yeah, I mean, the markets overall just feel continually weak, and this kind of area of price action that we've been in, Sol is another good example. This area of price action that we've been in has produced kind of a nice 4-hour RSI bounce, basically, and that's it. That's what it's done, which is the really disappointing thing, and shows you the weakness of the upside right now. So when you take all of this price action here is starting to slow down. So what you've got is this kind of market environment where you have continually lower lows. You have continual price action taking out wicks and then moving and taking out wicks again and just bleeding out, basically. But it's more aggressive than just bleeding. And then you form a situation in which you get your bounce. And then the market manages a 9% counter trend bounce, and that's it. That's it. It's done. It's like that's the grand total of the counter trend bounce, and these conditions are really shitty to be in. It's like the one on BTC, and I saw Adam talking about this. This price action here on BTC is, again, it's a really annoying, terrible, shitty one, because the majority of participants, as it stands, are still looking at getting long on this market. That is still kind of the dominating thought process that people have, is to try longs. And this sort of price action here is the one that just punishes that, because all it does is takes lows and then it kind of prompts you to want to re-enter and then just use the lows as stop loss points, as it just continually takes low after low. And there's no real significant bounces. Yeah, this looks strong right now. Yeah, it does, and it could perform, it could do something, it could break clear of here. The problem with a market like this is the problem with any market like this that's green on the day, is that if this sells off more, it's done. And that's the unfortunate situation that we have right now with this environment, is this movement here is the determining factor for everything else. Because we're in the situation where we would anticipate that the BTC sell-off would be more aggressive, or more aggressive than we have seen. And especially if we go through, people who've been on the stream for a while know the fact that I like to paint kind of price action as this story that happens. And so when you take the narrative and the discussion here, even from a lower time frame perspective, and you say, okay, well, aggressive downtrending price action, continual stop taking for the longs. Finally, we get our bounce. The bounce squeezes aggressively here off the last 6 days of price action and clears everything out finally on the short side. And this is continuation of the trend now. And then if we get the move that breaks through 57s, I mean, what are we looking for in that situation? What would be the next area of interest? Because from my perspective, it's, if this 57 breaks 54s, but then we're starting to challenge down here again, and we're starting to get into this zone. So And again, I just want to like continually not like hedge. It's not really hedging. It's like I'm aware of what this price action has been doing. And so I don't want to kind of like hype anybody up into being like, oh yeah, shit's all over, it's going to zero, like short it 100x right now. Because as we've seen, this market can still move quite aggressively to the upside. We could get a strong bounce on the indexes tomorrow. It might be a recovery day. Like I don't want to be like doom calling, because also the problem with doom calling or talking about downside price action is because the way everybody thinks is very much in the short term. It's very much in the immediate future, like what's going to happen in the next 4 hours. I think we'll get down to the 44Ks. I don't know when that's going to happen. I don't know if it will be tomorrow, next week, next month. I think we'll get there. And so that's the reason really I'm kind of adding that in so everybody's aware that it's like I'm talking about future price targets, not necessarily that it's going to happen in the next 24 hours. Yeah, Sol is still the only spot position that I have. That's the only spot position that I have. And I mean, like, should I be cutting that? Maybe. Maybe it's like a laziness thing that I don't cut it. But like, I still kind of feel okay with this, where it is. And this is longer term anyway. Without getting distracted about what's going on the kind of like, for me, the lower time frames, or at least in this kind of immediate area of price. It's still essentially doing what I would want it to do, which is hovering in and around this zone here. But yeah, I think it's okay. You think Sol will run up into the conference this month? Probably not. I'm long Doge. Honestly, I don't think it's a bad shout. I don't think it's a bad shout. The monthly is the important one. The monthly is still trading down into a decent area. The weekly is just what you got to be careful of. This area here, moving back into this and not reclaiming this former area. But it's not, I don't think it's horrendous. I mean, I don't know how much I'd want to be long in the current environment, but we haven't even talked about ETH. Like, ETH was horrific through here last night. Like, the ETH move was kind of a little bit more obvious than the rest of the markets, because this candle here was a horrible, horrible candle. Took out everything from here and then failed to close above this significant zone here. ETH wants to make the higher low here. The weekly time frame is the one that actually isn't very attractive at all, because if this is going to be an area of supply for ETH, then it's already had the lower time frame retest into this on the weekly. Yeah, monthly RSI at 50, decent, but got a lot more work to do lower time frame. A lot more work. Brother has no spot bags besides Sol. That's right. Not in cryptos. Not me. I don't want to be the comfy and spot meme, you see. Yeah, I mean, like all downside price action on crypto is a buy. everything to the downside is a buy. It just depends on how far it goes. And then the thing to manage is, I can feel like the preaching coming on here. In the crypto space, cheaper prices are an absolute blessing. That's what you want. You want cheaper prices. The thing that market cycles do and aggressive sell-offs do is they force you into reevaluating what assets you want to own. Because what you tend to do during bull market conditions is you start off with BTC and everything's fine. Then you start to kind of like diversify and spread out a little. So you're like, oh, I'll buy some Sol, I'll buy some ETH, I'll buy a little bit more BTC. And then as prices continue to go up and you start to feel like a genius, you then start to buy more and more shitcoins. Right? It might be like avalanche season. It might be like all of a sudden meme coins on Sol are going crazy. And so you suddenly find more and more of your capital getting spread around. And so if you take a look at where you started from a kind of a bull run perspective, you might have owned 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different things. By the time you get to an end of a bull run, you'll probably own 30, 40, 50 different things. Right, in like varying amounts, because you've just spread out everywhere. You've just like bought all sorts of shit. You had more profit, so you didn't care as much about where you were kind of like spreading that capital around. And that's the way that it develops. So when we get these big sell-offs, what tends to happen then is you begin that process of kind of reevaluating. So you say, look, like last time I fucked up, I did way too much. I spread way too thin. I got way too confident, and it you know, bit me. So what you do is you say, well, this time around, what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy BTC, I'm going to buy Sol, and then I'm going to chill. Like that's what I'm going to buy. I'm going to wait until I get lower prices. I'm going to buy those markets. And actually, that reset is a very healthy thing. That reset is a very, very positive thing that, you know, kind of is another blessing in disguise from the market to give you that opportunity to solidify and reevaluate and action a different plan that may be more effective in the longer term. But cheaper prices when it comes to crypto overall, it's just a blessing, because every single time we trade into fresh highs, all that matters is the market selection. And you know from simplicity's sake that BTC is one of those markets that continually makes fresh all-time highs. Like that's what you need to do. It's like BTC continually makes all-time highs. So if BTC draws down from here, whatever percentage it's going to end up drawing down, we know that cycle perspective and the way that it's worked every single time previously is that we trade up into fresh highs again. So bears really provide a blessing to everybody in terms of delivering lower prices. What's very important is your asset selection. It's very important what markets you choose to buy. It's very important on what time horizons you have for what your investments look like. Are you actively trading the market? Are you looking at buying things for the longer term? Are you looking at buying things for the next 5 years? Do you think that the prices that we're seeing today are acceptable for a 5-year time horizon? Right, load of questions, but any time that crypto gets cheaper in value, you should be excited about it. As long as you're not getting blown up trading, of course. Do you have any automation in your trade management or stop loss in profit and forget? No. No automation. Yes, Nick. 100%. So do you think Sol is here to stay for the next cycles and don't care if it goes down 30% or whatever? Yeah. Absolutely. Nvidia down 12% after hours? Holy shit. Man, the guy on TikTok was right. It's down 2%. All right, question that's stressing me out and making me feel depressed as fuck, okay? All right, I hope this isn't a meme. Every time I'm stressed, I go about endlessly watching videos all over the internet or doing stupid and useless things instead of focusing on what's happening with PA. Planning, trying to figure out what the fuck I'm doing or working on what I'm feeling and thinking with these kinds of PAs, or just focusing on bettering myself in general. Why do I do this kind of thing and how to fix it? All right, so I think there's probably a balance in there. So what you're saying is like you're not very productive. You find yourselves just like watching videos, doing stupid things and useless things instead of focusing on PA planning or trying to figure out what the fuck I'm doing or working on. So like from my perspective, again, it's something that you have to think about from a kind of an overall goal perspective. It's like, are you looking to be a trader? Are you looking to be an investor? Like, what's your path and what's your process? Because if you're an investor, you don't need to stare at the PA. And actually, I'd say that it's quite fine if you want to just waste your time watching videos. It's probably actually more productive for you to not be focusing on the price action. If you want to be a trader, then there's really nothing that I can say apart from the fact that you've already identified the issues. It's that you don't have that productivity, and there might be some other area of your life that's kind of sapping that away, whether or not it's, I don't know, sometimes things like lack of exercise, being in good shape, diet, etc., can all impact on your level of attention and being able to sit there and actively intake information and be productive with what you do. So maybe there are other things that are contributing to the fact that you're not doing what you want to be doing and it feels as though you're wasting time. I'm gonna guess that you're probably wanting to be more on the side of the active trader versus the kind of the passive investing style. So in which case you've got to figure out what is it that's causing that situation for you. Like, why aren't you being productive? Why aren't you doing something? Do you need a plan to follow? Do you need something that's going to be kind of more constructive of, here's what I need to do every single day, and when I've done these 5 things, then I can watch useless videos and chill out, but I feel productive. I feel like I've achieved something today, and then I can take a step back and I can just, play video games, do whatever I want to do. Chances of top being in? Yeah, I mean, probably close. And depends what sort of top we're talking about. If we're talking about the top for 2024, yeah, let's say the top's in for 2024. Are we gonna? You think the top's in on the daily? Maybe. Is the top in forever? Absolutely not. Cycle top? Yeah, I mean, again, my bias is the downside. I think that the market trades lower. I think that the market goes lower. Market structure is still fucked. It's still very bearish. It's still downtrending. And the very simple part about it all is that if 70K breaks on the upside, you just buy BTC again. And that's it. So yeah, the cycle tops in until it's not. champion. I mean, I don't think that's breaking news any longer. What kind of PA would you need to see on CRV for you to reconsider the 3-day div is not being played out? Well, I think the 3-day div has played out. I think that's the problem with CRV here. I think that the actual CRV move itself has played out. It's done. So you got it here. Right, you've got this one. Right, and I took profit at the literal pico top of this. This is before I entered my little bad run of form. But I think that the reality is that this situation is probably a top. That's a 2x. In terms of the value that we're looking for from a 3-day divergence, what more can you ask for than the market 2xing in a downtrend and basically being at all-time lows? You know, what other value can you get here? So I think the divergence is done. Seems like there is still hope for the bull run at these levels. If we hit the 40s, I think overall sentiment will legitimately be that bull run is over and see you guys in 4 years. And yeah, it will probably be the perfect buy opportunity then. Honestly, that would be the perfect buy opportunity. Can you explain why so many are bullish from 2025 onwards as opposed to playing PA as it comes? Because people try and predict macro stuff all the time, and like they're so incorrect. You may remember the time that everybody was kind of like macro doom callers, and they were just getting blown out left, right, and center as the indexes were just ripping into highs. Yeah, good old AAVE. Nice candle though. Honestly, nice candle. Trump project launching. Honestly, it's been trading like fucking there's a project launching on it. That's basically how it's been trading. How's ETH responded? Oh. Aye. Assuming 70K's break and we go higher, what are you looking for when to sell next? Realistically, it's 100K plus, and then it would be based on the technicals of what would be going on up there as well. So wouldn't be making any decisions on any flat figures. We'd just be monitoring the price action and going from there. Can't be many times where the Nasdaq putes so much more intraday compared to BTC. No, there's not, and that's because typically then BTC always catches up, right? Which is like the thing that you don't want to see. So that's the unfortunate side of things, is that usually BTC then does some catch up. So is the Trump thing legit? Based on the AAVE price action, you'd be like, yes, it absolutely is, right? Yeah, don't worry. I deliberately did that to the screen. Just had to sort something here. I had to panic out my AAVE short now. That's something I've always wondered, is how to play price discovery. Be happy, first of all. It's like, be happy that your asset is in price discovery. And then you usually got quite a bit of time then in order to actually do something in terms of positioning. Like how you scale out of that is very much dependent on, from my perspective, what signals take place. Lots of people use things like fibs or, extension points. And the other really great way to play price discovery is when you're very happy with a profit. Honestly, it's like one of the best things that you can do is like, if your market is in price discovery and you've got a ridiculous amount of profit and you're very happy with it, then you take it. Do you use fibs or volume profile in your trading? No. And if you're never happy, reevaluate your psychology. Yeah, it's definitely time to reevaluate at that point. Is Trump doing a DeFi project actually bullish? Like, is that shit even bullish? Yeah, it's a very nice little analogy. Imagine a few rugs. Yeah. All right. Let's wrap up there. So the burgers have shown us kind of the direction for today. We've got some Nvidia stuff going on in the background. We've had an incredibly poor day on the TradFi side of things. In comparison, yes, we've had a red day on crypto, but we haven't had the worst day given what the indexes have done. The indexes have been very nasty today. This has been a significantly strong sell-off day on the indexes. And actually, from a crypto side, from a BTC side, it's not that bad. Is it going to stay that way? Who knows? Right? I don't want to start making that correlation argument too much, because usually people who have been here for a while, not just my streams, but the market in general, will know that crypto has this wonderful way of catching up very, very quickly with TradFi. So just something to kind of keep in mind on that side of things as well. My bias, I think everything trades lower. I think it's still such a poor environment. I think it's still a very difficult environment for trading as well. So if you're kind of, getting chopped up, spat out by the charts and by your decision making, I think that's kind of fine in the current conditions. I think it's actually better that we're just actively trading the markets versus doing anything from the longer term perspective here. I think if you are looking at the longer term, I think you will get cheaper prices. So I don't think you should be necessarily that concerned about the intraday price movements that we have here. Then if you're trading, I think you're far better off in terms of more actively or routinely taking profit, given the nature of the way this market is swinging back and forth. I think it feels like the more sensible trading path to be taking at this moment in time versus holding on for those big double-digit moves all the time, instead of just being more reactive and kind of playing the market as it's coming. All right. So we'll be back in a few days. We'll stream on Friday night. We'll do the Friday night stream, and we'll cover off the end of the week, and we'll see how the indexes have responded to the aggressive sell first day post-holiday. And we'll see how crypto trades over the next 3 days or so. Can you rip the vape in the mic before you go for ASMR? I don't vape anymore, man. I do not vape, so I cannot. All right, and have a wonderful few days. Good luck out there trading. Thank you as always for joining me and listening to my thoughts and